Hello everyone, and welcome to the OAUG Young Professionals Forum September webinar. My name is Samantha Ogon, and I'm the OAUG staff liaison for the Young Professionals Forum. I want to note that this call is being recorded and you are currently on mute. During this presentation, there will be moments where we will unmute everyone on the call so you can contribute to the discussion. And if you have any questions at any time during this webinar, don't hesitate to write it in the question box, and we'll answer the question during or after the presentation. Before we start today's presentation, I'm going to give you a little update about the Young Professionals Forum, some other opportunities for you to find educational events with the OAUG, and then I will have R.J. Stevens, who is a Young Professionals Forum committee member, introduce our session. So here are some updates from the Young Professionals Forum. If you're attending Oracle Open World this October, be sure to come say hi to me. I'll be outside of the GeoSig Sunday all day on October 1st. And while we don't have an official meetup at Open World, I do encourage you to come and meet the different geographic and special interest group leaders who will be having meetings all day. You can find more information about this on our website at oug.org/openworld if you want to check out the schedule. Also, I'd like you to note the date for the next webinar, which is November 7th. We're going to have a Women in Technology panel on that date, and the registration link will be available soon, and I'll send that out to all of the members of the Young Professionals Forum. And we do also have some exciting news that the Young Professionals Forum will be undergoing a name change soon to the OAUG Emerging Leaders. So if you start seeing some Emerging Leaders information, that's the change. We'll have more information about this change coming soon, but I just wanted to make note of it so that you are aware of the new change. And you can also find any of our information at oug.org/YP, and always you are welcome to email me as well if you have questions at the email on the screen right now or membership@oug.org. And then next slide. And then I do have a couple of other opportunities to help you continue learning after the session. Since this session is about different ways to learn, I wanted to share different resources with different methods of passing on the information. The first is the Best of Collaborate 17 e-learning recordings are now available. And these are the best sessions from Collaborate 17, and now they're available as webinar recordings, so you can listen whenever you'd like to. We also have some new pro tip videos, one on replacing Discover, and then we have 5 or more other ones too that are very helpful, and these are just 5 minutes or less in length, so they're very short. And then finally, if you you have the time and you want something short and you prefer reading instead of watching videos, you can take a look at the OAUG blog to receive the latest information from Oracle and other users. For example, we just released a post about the EBS 12.2.7 release on our blog as well, and some helpful documents to help you if you want to know more about that release. All right, so that's all the helpful resources I have for you. I'd now like to introduce you to R.J. Stevens, who is one of the education program leads on the OAUG Young Professionals Forum. R.J.?
Hello, my name is R.J. Stevens. Like Samantha said, I'm the ERP administrator at the Tanana Chiefs Conference in Fairbanks, Alaska. It's my pleasure to introduce Daya Haddock. She is a passionate and proven executive with over 25 years of consulting experience. Since 2001, she has led a truly innovative company, TIA Incorporated. TIA is the premier learning as a service provider and an Oracle Gold certified business partner. TIA provides diverse customer-specific education and training solutions to bridge the gap between strategic business solutions and successful end-user adoption. Daya holds a BA from the Colorado College and an MBA from the University of Denver's Daniels Business College. She is a frequent speaker on the value of e-learning, knowledge management, and risk mitigation with effective end-user adoption programs at national and international conferences. So without further ado, welcome, Daya.
Well, thank you, RJ and Samantha. Well, greetings, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, and even good evening. We've got some folks, I think, across the pond in the UK. Want to thank you for your time today. I hope by the end of this session that you'll have some great feedback for us about what you like or dislike about a knowledge bite. We're really trying to look at how to change things up in terms of presenting information to folks online. So this whole point is to be interactive, is to provide information, ask questions, share some of your stories and experiences. It all contributes to the learning at hand. All right, so let's begin. So one of the things that I did was to gather some research from around the Pew Trust, millennial marketing, and I'd like to ask you all, do you believe that 70% of young professionals seek immersive, interactive, and hands-on experiences? What we'd like you to do is use the hands, raise your hand icon in the GoToWebinar control panel, and if you agree or disagree. So, but would you raise your hand if you agree that those adjectives are appropriate for, okay, they're coming in. Now, can everyone see these as well? I think so. You all can see the list of attendees. Is that true, Samantha? Everyone can see the list of attendees and see the hands?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, great. All right. All right, how about another one? That learning provides possibilities, and that really right now we've got a lot of rapid speed of change in our organizations. We're going to talk a little bit later in the presentation about disruptors in the workplace, and certainly speed is one of them. So another, raise your hands. You think this will help you? Learning provides that opportunities to really handle things that are happening so quickly in the workplace today. All right, not as many, but still a majority. All right. Obviously, as young professionals, you all are looking at success and how to grow and enhance your professional career. So what do you equate that success is like who you work with and what you work on? It's not necessarily, you know, having that corner office. Do you agree? Is that how you measure success for yourself professionally? It's looking at your teams and the kinds of projects that you're assigned to? Give this another second. Only two? Anyone else? Keep up. Okay. Okay. All right. So really, what I'm getting at here is just to kind of net this out. I believe looking at experiential, dealing with the speed of change, and looking at gaining success. These are all key characteristics for young professionals, and really any professional, in terms of driving their ambition, driving their professional growth. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, and sharing and having conversations and getting some feedback from you more than just raising your hands. So here we go. Let's talk about learning. So we're going to take advantage of the polling tool. Now, Samantha, did you want me to select it or would you like to select it? I'm making everybody.
I got it. Hold on one second.
This is, all right. So let's talk about this. I want you all to think about what was one of your most recent learning opportunities, and how was it served up to you? How was it presented? So go ahead and you'll click on the different choices. And the poll is in progress right now, and then what we'll want to do is we'll give you guys just a few minutes, and then let's display it. So Samantha, it doesn't display as we go, does it? It just does it after we collect the responses?
No. So after. So we're ready to close.
Yeah. and we want to share the results. Okay. Okay, so there was no others. Look at that. Okay. So just as much reading and looking at corporate information materials versus classroom. Self-paced WBT, in terms of WBT stands for web-based training. So, you know, conducting something online by yourself. And then obviously the new kind of online libraries that we have access to, such as YouTube and the LinkedIn or the lynda.com. We're going to be talking more about those as well. So there weren't any other, we captured everything in there. A lot of kind of traditional training methods here. Would you all agree? All right, now let's talk though, well, what do you prefer? So let's go to poll 2. And again, look at different ways where you go to get information. There's, again, obviously you guys are familiar with the self-paced WBTs. We've also added, and the learning libraries, custom simulations. This is for, you know, where your organization has created materials in a movie or a see it, try it, do it mode. Online help, you know, that's classic. We've had that for forever. Clicking on the question mark to get information and searching within that the documents of online content. And then a webinar, and again, what I meant by this is kind of like a synchronous event. So this could be, you know, where you're participating in a classroom, but virtually or online. Did that help clarify what those choices are? And we'll give you guys a few questions. And now, obviously, if you have questions as we're entering each of these polls, you know, feel free to pop those into a question so we can clarify before we shut down the. All right, so there we go. So interesting that you prefer the simulations, but it certainly wasn't part of your most recent learning experiences. All right, and online help, still a resource. But no one talked about the learning libraries. Maybe let me just clarify that. So obviously, just because that was my most recent learning experience, and I think a few others, I mean, isn't that how you use your phone pretty much all the time? Is if you have a question, or, you know, it's how do I change a tire? How do I fix a drippy faucet? You use YouTube, you know, how do I complete a performance review? You can go to a YouTube and get, you know, a 2 to 3 minute video quickly and easily. I guess I want to ask real quickly, wouldn't you guys, let's clear the hands for a second. We're just kind of going off task here. How many of you have used YouTube recently for, you know, search and information gathering? Is it more for personal use? I guess I should separate the questions. How many of you have you used the learning libraries for personal use? There we go. Now they're all popping in. So why wouldn't we use that same technique in a professional environment? Well, let's talk about that. Actually, let's just stop here for a second and let's open up the audio for everybody. Since we've just kind of talked about those two different, some of the methods that you prefer and what you've had experiences with. Any comments about something in terms of your most recent learning experience that you'd like to share with the group? Anything unique about it or frustrating about it? Is the question mark meaning you have questions? You've asked a question? Let's see. So I don't see it. Oh, the audio. So we do have someone having trouble with some audio. There are other questions that relate to?
It looks like RJ, you mentioned you really like self-paced WBT.
Yes, I do. I find it great to fit into a busy schedule.
That's because I guess you can easily bookmark where you are and then go back to it without having to obviously begin from the beginning again. But do you find that it takes a little while to get back into the topic? Or you just account for that as part of re-ramp up?
I usually find it pretty, most of the classes I've had that are presented well also have quite a few documents to read, as well as the web-based training. And then the instant feedback about how you're performing really helps, and you can go back and watch again or read more details, look for other sources of information. I find it just works really well with my learning style.
Does anyone else feel the same way about self-paced? I mean, there's typically organizations have a lot of the self-paced WBT tools. For those of you that have to deal with annual compliance training, that's a common venue for delivery. And it's kind of coming up toward year end. I know a couple of our customers are dealing with compliance training right now and rolling that out. So maybe some of you are getting ready to get that email and have to complete those courses, that course. Let's see. Andy, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I didn't know whether, I was just saying, I work remotely, so when you're being called into a classroom, it can be quite inconvenient. So WBTs or web-based or simulations or going to find stuff on the internet can be a lot more, accommodating for someone like myself. And I don't think it's always used in that way. I think it should be a little bit more
robust or accessible.
Exactly, accessible. That's it. That would be the right way of putting it. Like you were saying earlier on, for my own, personal stuff, I can go onto the internet and find answers to questions I have, around the house or whatever. But work-wise, it'd be nice to be able to do the same thing.
Okay, so this was really looking at what kind of, again, online tools are available to us. I mean, we all are barraged with technology and technology capabilities, and obviously learning is an area that's really trying to explode in this space, as you can see from these types of different learning methods. But let's also talk about other types of learning methods that are certainly available and support you in your job. So let's do another poll here. So what I tried to do was segregate the things that were classic technology-based versus non-technology or other learning methods. So let's let's open up this poll.
I thought I would interrupt just one moment. We had one more comment, and they said, in their view, it also depends on the type of training material we have at our disposal, so that the learning method may vary based on that. I thought it was a good comment myself, because I agree as well. But I don't know if you want to talk about that too, the different types at their disposal.
In terms of the different types of online techniques? Let me make sure I understand your question, Samantha.
Oh, just like the different learning methods vary, depending on the training material that they have at their disposal.
True, true. So what we've tried to do here is like capture, here are some things that are methods or techniques for utilizing technology to get information, to get learning, to learn a skill, to acquire information. Again, all around helping you to do your jobs. So the second poll, though, is what other learning methods do you prefer in your organization? So the leading one before was the custom simulations for the online, but let's look at things that are non-technical, if you will. Coaching, this is a supervisor support. Now, reading was big in one of our earlier polls in terms of the most recent training that you had participated in. A lot of you, it looked like a third of you had said that you had done that through reading and documents and materials, information materials. So, and then obviously classrooms, workshops, the typical classroom, ILT, which is instructor-led training. And then I love this quick reference one, because every time we look and get an opportunity to tour, and maybe you just need to even look around your own desk. Do you have sticky notes? How about this? How many of you have sticky notes on your desk? Do a quick hand poll. There we go. Yeah. So you can relate to the picture. I hope your office does not look like that. Are there any others? Good, we've got somebody responding to other. So we're going to want to then turn you on and hear what that is, unless you'd like to type it in the question area. Has everybody voted? Are we ready to share the results? All right. So again, non-online methods of learning, you prefer classroom, you prefer coaching, but the big one is quick reference. What was the other category? Did someone type that in as a question, or would you like to discuss that with open audio? Please share your thoughts. We're dying to know what it was.
He says that he prefers exploratory learning, self-directed learning through exploration and self-discovery.
Exploratory learning. All right, I'm just moving over there. Is he exploratory learning? So is that research and about different? How is it? But different than reading, and different than getting information from a coach or a supervisor or a SME, a subject matter expert. Is this an area where it's more talking with a knowledge expert or a SME? I'll just ask that as a yes/no question to the person that told us about other.
All right, so he says he does a lot of database mapping and coding, which is where, which is where it more directly applies. So he said,
okay.
Yes, I'm sort of throwing myself into a database architecture and generating knowledge on it for my organization.
Okay, so he wants to become the subject matter expert, the knowledge expert, and so this is his way that he's got to reach out in multiple venues and ways to capture that information, because it doesn't exist in classrooms or coaching or quick reference or, okay.
We have some more comments too. We have
Really?
somebody else who said, quick reference to me would be similar to YouTube type video, something that's short and concise and I can access quickly. Self-directed, self-paced learning, course offered online such as, such as a learning management system.
Yep, we're going to talk about those in a little bit here, but what that was how they accessed the learning? Was that the point?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yes. And then we have the exploratory. Michael, he made another comment that says, yes, we're not especially strong on native knowledge. So he's answering your question before.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Well, and again, we have the audio open, correct?
Yeah, so if you do want to discuss it on, don't be shy. You can speak. Everyone is unmuted from my end, so it's whether you're muted on your phone.
Conversation. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts about this before we move on.
Another method, if you will, of exploratory learning is if you're working with your ERP, there may be times where a process or the program is not working the way you may think it should, or the way you may think that there's a better way to do it. So if you have a test environment, you can go in there and try to run different processes. Use that test environment to test the software. Maybe it's not documented yet, to find a new way to do a process to gain process improvement for the business.
Okay, so you were talking more about utilizing information materials or learning where you're trialing it in different aspects, using your example.
And there may not even be information. It may be just, you know, you have an understanding of what the system does, trying different things to utilize it better.
Does anyone else have another comment about other non-technical or online learning? How about, I'd like to hear a little bit about the coaching. Has the coaching been by your supervisor, or was it a subject matter expert or someone from HR? Can someone, does anyone know about their coaching experience? Who it was? There are a couple people that can you guys? I thought you guys would all be just jumping in to speak up. We did this format of a knowledge bite in the UK earlier, and we had a lot, everyone was talking, and we had a lot of opportunity to go down some different kinds of rabbit holes, which we ended up having to come back out. But anything anyone wants to share about these other kinds of methods?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
So coaching for me was definitely supervisor, and then when I started with my company, another employee that had been with the company for over 35 years. So a lot of knowledge transfer through person-to-person interaction, which I kind of consider coaching in that aspect.
Absolutely. Now, did that 35-year person have materials, or was a lot of this in their heads?
It's a combination. So I would say a combination of quick reference guides along with the coaching.
So you ended up having some materials that you were able to retain as well, and then continue to add to and embellish.
Yeah, especially with the you know, the Oracle platform technology changing so frequently, the guides have to continue to be updated frequently too.
Yes, yes. That's kind of a great lead into the next few slides. Does anyone want to add any other thoughts about their coaching experience? I think this is an area a lot of companies are looking. Go ahead, please.
Not that particular, you know, but I was just thinking, listening to that last comment, you know, a lot of the companies we work for have that person who has all that knowledge. But the big worry then, I suppose, would be what happens if that person leaves, or, you know, if he's been around with that experience and he's shared all that knowledge at some stage, you know, he'll probably have, you know, he'll be off, you know, sunning himself off and somewhere else, and what happens with all that information he had in his head. I guess that might cause issues down the line. But trying to get that information, I guess it's in quick reference guides as well, but moving it off into other avenues as well to make sure it's not lost, because that could quite easily get lost, I'd think.
And it's interesting you bring that up, because that individual does have plans to retire at the end of the year. So that has been a big,
he's going to be
big
very busy
thing for our company right now.
Yeah, he's going to be very busy sharing all that information.
Walk around with a tape recorder, at least, or something. record. All right. Now, how are we doing on time, Samantha? We have about 15 minutes left.
Yep, 15 minutes. That's correct.
So we'll move on. I've got a couple more slides here. So again, what we've tried to do is just kind of have some conversation, share some thoughts about different ways of learning. These next few slides, I really wanted to talk about, because part of this presentation was about, I wanted to at least leave with you some information about what is changing in the field of training and what organizations should be thinking about going forward. So I'm just going to pull up all these quick points, and we're going to have a poll question right after this. So I want you to think about kind of what disruptors are in your place. But obviously, there's a lot of conversation about the changing, the changing dynamics in our workplace today. When I capture it as a very succinct statement is this: we are in a culture of workforce disruption, and I've categorized them in 5 areas. Obviously, there's technology, and just one of the points I'll mention here is obviously being an Oracle partner. Typically, in the past, with their products, JD, PeopleSoft, and eBusiness Suite, and even the cloud apps, was there would be a release or an upgrade every 1 to 2 years, right? And companies could prepare for it. They could budget it and then plan what they needed to do that major implementation or upgrade. And now Oracle is releasing things in 6 to 8 weeks. Specifically, I know with the PeopleSoft product, and they're calling those PUMs. And I think that's going to be happening to a lot of other software that you have in your organization, not just Oracle, but software companies are working in that agile market, and they are getting faster releases. Maybe just a quick raise of hand. Well, you know what? We'll come back to that because we're going to ask this in the polling tool. Environment. The main thing here that I want to talk about is: are any of you working at home? Obviously, many organizations are downsizing certain office space. Although we're excited to hear about. I'm here located in Denver. I'm just going to sidebar for a second. So apparently, Amazon is looking for a second corporate headquarters, and we've been told for 50,000 employees. I'm like, well, that'll be interesting to come into the Denver marketplace. But clearly, I'm not sure all of that will be in office space. So looking at where your environment is of your organization and what kind of changing things are happening to support that. Global reach, obviously we continue to have organizations that acquire companies or expand internationally. That's not going away. And then business change. Obviously a lot happening with organizations as they respond to the needs of your customers. And lastly, just to mention again, there's a lot of this information in the press, but this is an uncanny time in our workplace history in which we actually have 5 different generations working that have unique learning styles, communication styles, management styles, work-life balance styles, and that definitely can cause some disruption in the workplace. So with that, just quick overview, which disruptors do you see impacting your organization today? And be thinking about anything that you'd like to add to that. Or is there one missing? I would love to hear if you've got another category that you think, based on things that you're reading or seeing in your organization that's causing some upheaval or change. It can be positive change as well. Everybody ready? I guess we've been keeping it open about 45 seconds, and then we'll close it. Got 5 more seconds, guys. Get your votes in. Okay, so it looks like technology and multi-generational. You guys have diverse workforces. That's it. Or at least the primary ones. Okay. Let's talk about then, based on those disruptors, I think, again, one of the key things that's happening, or that what we see, and again, I'm just trying to bring our knowledge base to the table here to share with you all, so you've got something to walk away with, that there are some key training changes, and organizations that are dealing with these kind of different disruptors also need to be looking at their training programs. And so what we see is that there really is a limited time for instructor-led training. Now, many of you mentioned that was like really high in one of the, in the preferred and in the most recent experience. But I think that you're going to see that that's really going to start shifting, and that organizations are going to provide more and more of those, the micro-learning. The gal that mentioned about the YouTube, this is as a quick reference mode or method for learning. Micro-learning, it's more than just a buzzword, but I really believe that this is going to be how learning is going to be served up within the organizations going forward. Custom content is going to be absolutely critical. You guys know how you run your business, and we just had that conversation about the senior level person that's leaving the organization, and the knowledge that they have about what your processes are and your procedures and the gotchas and the caveats. I mean, that's all prize, you know, intellectual capital to help that company be effective. I talked a little bit about the software updates. Are you guys seeing, let's just do a quick web poll, or excuse me, a hands poll. Have any of you started to see releases come more frequently than once a year? And we'll just do that as raise your hands if yes. Okay, so just like just about a third of you. So some of you are seeing that. I would propose, and now I'll put you on the spot. So Matt, Michael, Robin, and Shauna, would you agree that that's going to continue to speed up? If someone just says yes, that's okay. Or no. Matt, can I put you on the spot? What do you think? Is it with Oracle products or is it with another company?
Yes. In particular, Oracle Fusion products, moving to that SaaS type infrastructure. So the technology side may not be impacted by actually installing patches or whatnot, but it's the testing of the software after the upgrade that has been a big impact on our organization.
Great, great. So I think your comments is a foreshadowing for many of the others on the call that this is going to be happening in a much more frequent pace, and cause a lot more work effort from your IT organizations for testing, as you mentioned. Some of the other things that are now is it flat PowerPoints, and you know, there used to be a phrase called death by PowerPoint. I mean, learners are going to demand for more engaging learning information, no matter what the topic or the content area. It's not hard to include audio and video and animations, and these are important things that you need to incorporate into learning. And then also understanding that there's multimodalities. We talked about people that like to research first, read information first. There's others that prefer just to get hands-on and do the experiential. So it's making sure that you've got materials to support that. And I think the biggest thing is having this embedded in working. Why does training have to be outside of your job? how can we integrate it so that as you're working throughout the day, that you're getting the information you need when you need it. So that leads us right to this whole conversation about the 70-20-10 rule. And let's go into this slide next about experiential social formal training. So let's pull your polling tool out. What we're going to do is take a quick read through of these definitions. So experiential is learning through on-the-job experiences. You've got your micro-learning, libraries. Social learning is through direct feedback and that coaching that you talked about. And then formal learning is that classroom or webinar training. So can you open up that poll? There we go. So what % of training in your organization is experiential? That meets that you've got a learning that's tied to on-the-job experiences. You've got the micro-learning libraries, custom simulations. So it looks like a lot of you, okay. Third. Okay, we'll give it 5 more seconds for polling. Get your votes in. I want to get some feedback too about the effect about this tool, if that was easy for you all to use. Okay, we can go ahead and close that poll. Okay, so we did get some new data. Okay, so like a quarter of you feel like you're in good shape with your organization. This model of 70-20-10 is kind of, again, the mode for what's happening in the training and development workplace. As organizations can move more to a 70 experiential, 20 social, and then lose more of the formal learning. But it looks like some of you are well on your way, and others have some flipping to do. Does anyone I'll keep that open before we run to the next and last slide about that. Any kind of experiences with the experiential training in their organization?
I have a comment about that. My name is Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hi. I was one of the ones that voted, myself and my colleague that's with me listening in, voted for over 70% at our organization for experiential learning. However, I think a part of that we have dealt with that's been difficult is that peer-to-peer on-the-job training and experience, and how, kind of like the telephone analogy where things get lost in translation. And so we are really looking at getting back to, and I had made the comment about the YouTube-ish type videos. We're trying to find ways to give those short, concise videos to the organization, to the manufacturing business, that they can easily access and gain knowledge that is the correct job knowledge, and not necessarily knowledge that has been filtered in wrong direction, so to speak, as it's been passed on the job. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So it sounds like with that micro learning solution is what you're pushing up and making available.
Yeah, and in particular, when you talk about Oracle products, we are right now trying to get the business to buy into like UPK, to offer that kind of that knowledge center on the web, and just to be able to, again, interact with the training materials and then watch videos as well if they want to do that.
Great. Well, that's a great lead into this next slide. As you can see, the first word up here is UPK. Okay. And just so everyone knows, Dan and I didn't plan that, but great comment. But yes, the good news is, and here's the thing. So if you want to get to this experiential and social learning platforms, there's a lot of good news. So here's some key points that again, these are things that we'd like to impart. Some of these things you guys are doing, considering doing. Obviously, there's some great e-learning authoring tools out there. UPK is just one of them. It's very pricey. Be aware that there are others that have just as great capabilities with the LMS components of it, with the knowledge plans and so on and so forth. A lot of those provide the single source object, and they allow you to record once and serve up in multiple ways. And obviously, you can include the audios and videos and animations and really make those effective microlearning libraries. A lot's happening around LMSs. For those of you that don't know, LMS is Learning Management System. So you mentioned Dan, you mentioned the Knowledge Center. Yeah, it's a great tool for managing and kind of serving up the courses, the microlearning libraries. And there's a lot of other LMSs out there. I'm clearly not naming all of them. And one of the questions later on was going to be asking about the LMSs you guys use. But another area is cloud. Obviously, you mentioned SaaS. Someone had mentioned SaaS earlier about managing those updates. And now there's a new platform for serving up learning as well. But again, some of these other key points I just want to emphasize. So leverage better tools, look at the cloud, use the LMSs, make sure that you've got good mapping and library search. Collaboration is going to be key. There's going to be a lot, I think, exploding in this particular area about how you identify discussion boards and knowledge experts. And then always the integration with corporate materials. And of course, everything right now, the buzzword is analytics and dashboards. So you've got to have those capabilities as well to showcase the results of this experiential and social learning. I think what I'm going to do is just skip over this question and let's see, these are the last two slides. Maybe we'll do one last poll. Is everybody willing to hang on for a few minutes? Actually, let's do a raise your hand if you're willing to hang on for a few minutes, and we'll do one more poll. Well, looks like we've only got half the group can stay. Okay, well then we'll just move on. We'll pass on the poll, and let's just, a few more things that I just want to leave you with, because it was part of our, here's some things that maybe you can do to help see that your training has changed. All about information sharing, obviously, how that's when learning is realized, when sharing takes place. So take advantage of that. If cloud is the buzz, you might want to look at a learning as a service solution to trial, and push for those micro-learning solutions. Sounds like a couple folks had mentioned that and are looking to that. See what LMS you have, or if your organization's considering getting one, to help serve up the different types of learning opportunities. And obviously there's a lot of consultants out there that can help you with whatever vision or strategy you want to do to get there. Okay, that was it, folks. This was the last slide, was just a quick summary of what we tried to present today. I was hoping for a little bit more conversation, but for those that did speak up, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd really like to get your feedback, and you can share it with Samantha, and Richard, about this venue. Raising your hands, filling out polls, participating in the conversation. We'd like to think that this is a new way to do these, online webinars. You don't want to just hear people talk, but we really like to hear people's stories. And that's, again, the sharing is when learning is realized. And with that, I will wrap up with the classic. Oh, this is just some information about TIA. Our email and website is here. If you'd like more information, just definitely reach out to us. Glad to talk to you about any of the topics that were mentioned here, or about tools or LMSs or better ways to get your organization moving into an adaptable learning culture. Any questions, guys?
Can I ask one quick question? Going back to Dan's point, And then the earlier point we were chatting about with regards, the gentleman who had all the knowledge in his head. What would be the best way, do you think, to actually getting that information from someone's head, would you say, and putting it into something like UPK? Because you hear about the tool UPK, but it's like, trying to, move from that old, sort of older way of learning and putting things into UPK. Is that, I guess it's just with the strategies, isn't it? I was just thinking, I like the way Dan was thinking about moving into UPK and moving away from, having wrong information. But I guess it's just, it's probably like a culture change for the business, I'm guessing, to try and move that way. Is Dan finding that? Any issues with that? Is it difficult the way he's trying to push forward with that, or? And if we're running out of time.
I would say that it is really multi-generational in the sense that it's not so much those that have the knowledge that are the senior level that have the knowledge in their heads that, getting that out. It's more of a time management thing. The initial feedback that we get when we try to introduce like UPK or these learning modules and stuff, and specifically to the individuals that need to sit down and record this, make a UPK out of it, is just that time management. They look at it kind of, I think, from a negative connotation a little bit of like, oh, another thing I have to do, right? Whereas it's very, but however, what I like about UPK is the simplicity of it. It's just, it's a screen capture, so it's very easy. They could be in a test environment and testing some of these things that they know that others may not, but just have UPK record it turned on to capture that,
Oh, cool. Okay.
If I could add to that, we're the same cultural change that Andrew mentioned and Dan's point to pushing things. We're struggling in my organization with getting that buy-in, that it's worth the time investment to develop UPK and make use of it to maintain institutional knowledge. And it's a trick getting leadership buy-in so that cultural value sort of trickles down. So from our perspective, it's an organizational issue or a cultural issue more than anything else.
I bet that's very common, though. I bet that's really common.
Now we're having some conversations, and it's time to go. So next time, you guys will know that you can jump in earlier and be comfortable with it. It's just, this is just a hallway conversation with a little structure around it, and hopefully you've got a little information you're able to take away. But like I said, we tried this in the UK and had some pretty good success, and we'd like to try this again. But please give us your feedback about what worked, what didn't work, to Samantha, and maybe we'll get an opportunity to try this mode as again.
Sorry, I have a real quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
Will this PowerPoint be made available with the poll results to us?
So,
or actually,
well, yes, we will be posting this recorded version of this webinar by tomorrow, and I'll post it on the Young Professionals page, which is oaug.org/YP, and I'll have it there. I'll try to download the poll results for you and post it along with the webinar too, so you should have that.
Great, thank you very much.
And otherwise, I just want to thank Daya for taking her time and leading this discussion with us, and thank you, RJ, for introducing and being on the call as well. And if you do have any questions, just like Daya said, don't hesitate to email either one of us and just ask them. And there should be an email that goes out once we end this webinar that will also have a link to our website and my email address, so that you can just reply to that as well. So thank you all for your time.
Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you, Samantha.